Okay, Smilers, we are back to talk about phase 2 of the menstrual cycle and how to best maximize and optimize this phase to help your performance and your health and your happiness to keep that smile on your face. So, this phase is actually probably one of my favorites because you're not dealing with the first phase, and we all know what that entails, just the inconvenience of it, first off. But in this phase, we still get the amazing benefits of energy and lots of other things I'm going to go over. And this time is really primed to have you push yourself in every capacity. And it is just my absolute favorite. So, we are going to dive into phase 2, the early follicular phase, still part of the low hormone phase. So, in this phase, your body is preparing an egg and the uterus forms a lining. So, in this phase, it is a great time for high intensity. To the best of my knowledge, this is a time to our bodies burn more carbs than usual. And so that is why high intensity is good, because those are workouts that maximize carb burning activities, right? So if we go out for a long run, that's endurance. That's a whole different energy structure and format that we're looking at. So during this phase, and I would say this is after the first 5 to 7 days, like after that, when we're not bleeding anymore and we are just feeling good right before ovulation. So, this is a great time for you to go for those maxes in the weight room. Hit those PRs that you're looking for in your performances. And that is such a track and field reference, but PR stands for personal record, if you're unfamiliar with that, or a PB, a personal best. So if you were to time any type of performance or any type of activity that you need extra and all of your energy for, this will be the phase to do it. So it is a great time to do those high intensity workouts. That would be for my track athletes, those hard sprint workouts that you need energy for. And for my strength training gurus like me, maybe test out during this phase and see how much that you can max, or, maybe be more confident in that you can hit those higher numbers. And it's incredible. My experience with this is that, 2 weeks before this phase, and I think I'll just backtrack a little bit more because it was so frustrating to be in the weight room, I think over the last like maybe 5 years or so, and be able to squat 225 no problem once I got to that point for 3 sets of 5 1 week. And then 2 weeks later, or 2 to 3 weeks later, I can barely get that up. And so I think it's really important to personal trainers to understand how to manage their female clients with this information, because one, you're going to help empower them a little bit more mentally as well as physically, and you're going to be able to design workouts around this. And so that's just going to put you at a whole nother level of being a coach and a personal trainer and being aware of these things to help maximize the performance and also the recovery of your athletes and the students that you're working with. So this is truly important to understand and to start implementing with our female athletes, because once we as coaches understand it, then they can start understanding how to maximize how they're feeling during different times of the month. And we need to communicate with our athletes, and not that they have to tell you all the information of where they're at in their cycle, but I think it's important when you approach it in a way of performance and understanding, hey, I'm going to be aware that maybe mentally or physically, you're not going to be performing at your best during this game or during this competition. And relieving some of the pressure from our female athletes is so important because we are so hard on ourselves. We psychologically think so much differently than men. So when we have a bad performance, we tend to look at it's me, it's my fault. What did I do wrong? And men are actually more thinking of things like, oh, it was the weather outside. It was, all these like external things. Women, we tend to internalize when things don't go well for us. And that psychologically, I think, was something that led to my like quitting of track and field because I could not understand why my performance was not going the way I had hoped and the way I'd wanted it to. And I truly believed that I just was not fast enough, that I just was not good enough when all of these external things were playing into what was going on 1,000%. And I know that is true because I am stronger now than I was as a D1 athlete. With this information, I am healthier, I am happier, I am living a better life. And if I could give that to any of my athletes early on in high school to empower them to take that knowledge. And even if they're the ones telling their coaches about this information, it needs to get out there. It has to. We have to change the way we are training our female athletes. We have to change the mentality and the taboo around talking about periods. This is something that has to be done because it is leading to mental and physical destruction for our athletes in high school and in college. And I think we can decrease the amount of depression and anxiety with our college athletes and our high school athletes by empowering them with this knowledge to give them the tools to be able to handle the mental and emotional and physical stress that they're dealing with. Men and women are different. That is just a scientific fact, and we have to accept it. You can tell I'm so passionate about this because it is something that I regret not knowing. And so we're just going to keep talking about this. We're going to get this conversation out there, share this message, make sure that people know that women need this information, that girls need to know that it is not because of what is happening internally. I mean, it is internally because it's physiological, but it is not their fault. We have to let them know that these things are happening for them and not to them. And I think that is the biggest mindset that we have to change in our female athletes. So with that being said, we're going back to phase 2. So greater time for high intensity workouts, making sure that as a coach, you're encouraging your athletes to push it a little bit harder. If you happen to know that they're in this phase, right? As an athlete, if I know that I have a little bit more in the tank, that it's more up here that I'm not feeling good, that is really, really helpful. And I know that I can push myself. I just did a track workout the other day, and I think 2 weeks ago, I would have been dead. I would have been so exhausted had I done the same workout. But because currently, right now, I am in phase 2, I have so much more power mentally and physically to just be able to do really well. So, the nutrition for this phase should be a focus on anti-inflammatory. And I think this is the same for most phases. So it's a lot of nuts and seeds, berries, extra virgin olive oil, veggies, salmon, things that are going to give you those anti-inflammatory properties. Sleep during this phase, the sleep efficiency is generally lower than average. So once again, this is crucial because if you are really hitting it hard, right? You're taking that advice and advantage of this time with low hormones to push it really hard. You got to prep yourself to sleep well. You need to give yourself an extra hour, maybe 2, to let your body sleep. I know that is one thing that my athletes don't get enough of, and something that I for sure did not get enough of as a college athlete, balancing the social life of staying up late and getting up early for practice. And it's really difficult to manage because you want to be social, and the only extra time you have as a college athlete is after school late at night and like the weekends. And so we can just find a balance of being able to go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, and try not to get too off track. So I understand we need to have a social life. Trust me, I was at every dance party known to man in Provo, Utah during my time at BYU. And but looking back, yeah, of course I should have gotten more sleep, but it was just something that really affected my recovery. So when in these phases, when you know that your sleep efficiency is generally lower than average, you just can make sure that you can do all of those extra sleep hygiene things to make sure that you're sleeping well, right? So making sure that the room is extra dark and cool, and making sure that you are not exposing yourself to light if you happen to wake up in the middle of the night, and to dim the lights as soon as the sun goes down, and do those extra things that are going to give your body the best ability to sleep, because naturally at this time your body is not going to sleep as well or as deep, and that totally affects your ability to recover. So going into the next aspect of this phase is the mental aspect. So this is actually really cool. And as I mentioned with the last phase, it's something that we're still dealing in the last phase. We're still dealing a little bit with the PMS symptoms, and moving into this phase, we'll be done with the premenstrual symptoms because we're into post bleed phase. We're going to have increased motivation with rising estrogen. So, this can cause the release of these feel good hormones and may increase positivity and alertness. So, for those that are needing to perform at their best, take a test, have a difficult conversation. This is the phase to most optimally do that. So with the rise of estrogen, this just causes these feel good hormones to just put you in a better mood and be more positive. And I think alertness is something that so many of us, I think, are seeking for and trying to get that alertness through caffeine and other sources. And so when we can take advantage of this alertness during this phase, we can perform better, right? We can make better decisions in a game. We can make better decisions, and think better during a test, right? So I think that just being aware of that, and you're not going to be able to match up all of your tests and hard assignments with this phase of high alertness, but it's something definitely to look into if you have a choice to schedule something. So just a little tip to think about. And during this phase, I think that it's important to remember that having a baseline of protein and carb intake and making sure you're still hitting those nutrient windows are really, really important. Um, the exercise type during this phase, strength training is that moderate to high intensity strength based training, and always making sure that you have a good warm up. And on the endurance side of training, moderate to high intensity endurance based training with a good warm up is good for this phase. So, if you were to highlight any type of exercise, it would be the high intensity. But I know there's endurance athletes and strength and sprint athletes out there that don't always need that endurance training. So, um, your sleep is a little bit lower than average, right? But this will return to normal as soon as the body moves further into the follicular phase. So it is going to be poor, but it's going to get better as you continue through this phase. So making sure that your nutrition is optimized in this phase, just really making sure that you are recovering well after workouts, because this also does have an effect on your sleep, being able to eat the proper amount of macronutrients, carbs, proteins, and fats to help your body recover and sleep. So it all rolls together. Some of the symptoms that we might deal with in this phase are headaches, and this, I believe, is due to a fluctuation of hormones, and sometimes they can be hormone headaches. So one thing that really helps with those headaches is around 250 milligrams of magnesium. And this can all be found in the apps that I have listed and will continue to list. So eating like nutrients on your own, we still want to be eating that anti-inflammatory, right? Um, Iron is something that we need to look into because of the blood loss. We are going to be low on iron. Women tend to be lower on iron than usual. And so iron sources come from spinach, lean beef, dark chocolate, liver, lentils. I don't know people that actually eat liver, but that is just listed on there. And so when you pair some sort of iron source with vitamin C, that will optimize maximum absorption. So, um, what I do is I have a couple iron supplements that I really like to take. Sometimes that can be tough on your stomach. I've done liquid iron. I have this pill that has vitamin C inside of it. But usually, what I'll do is I'll buy some orange juice and I will make sure that I have food in my stomach, and I will take that iron with vitamin C just to help with that absorption. So that's really important to be able to take a nutrient and then have it absorbed. So we could be eating something, but if it's not absorbed properly, we're not going to be able to hold on to that nutrient as well. So different sources of vitamin C also come from black currants, kiwi, bell peppers, broccoli, and citrus fruits. So the easiest thing to do is just go buy some orange juice, and also remember to buy, if you're buying orange juice, do not buy the calcium fortified orange juice, because calcium actually inhibits the absorption of iron, whereas vitamin C maximizes it. So make sure that you're getting the orange juice without calcium. Just regular orange juice has plenty of vitamin C for you. Also, during this phase, vitamin B6 is crucial. So that can come from chickpeas, bananas, pistachios, tuna, lean turkey, and then making sure that you're getting your omegas. So flax seeds, chia seeds, tuna, walnuts, and mackerel. I want to jump back to all of these things that I just listed nutrition wise is listed in the app Fitter Women. So I will link both the apps, but each app that I use to track my menstrual cycle has different pieces of information. And the Fitter Women app tends to be a little bit more specific about the nutrition and will actually give you recipes on different things on how to incorporate this. So amazing. Such great information at our fingertips. And so our hormone levels are low, and our body just has a little bit more energy to spare. So with these estrogen levels rising to a peak before ovulation, and progesterone levels are still very low, this is what causes that little bit of extra energy to spare. So our recovery protocol is going to be normal depending on the training load. Obviously, if you're loading a little bit more, recovery is going to increase as well. So we just need to be a little bit more prepared to that for that. So we're going to have a little bit more increased motivation. We're going to have a little bit of a decrease in stress and anxiety with this estrogen, causing that feel good hormones to circulate within the body. And so taking advantage of this to hit those workouts that you usually mentally struggle to get yourself to go do, right? I know that there's so many track workouts that I still remember to this day that I just dreaded. And so take this information and empower yourself with it to be able to really maximize your performance and your recovery, to be able to get those fitness goals that you are looking for. And I can't reiterate enough on how important this is to get and share this information. So please share this podcast. I'm going to just break down section by section. So that is phase 2. I will come back with phase 3 and we'll go over some of the other phases that sometimes cause us a little bit of a stress and lower energy, and how to manage and help support our bodies and our minds with that information. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time with phase 3 of your favorite time of the month period.